Can I be completely honest? Because I just chose clay because I haven't touched clay in like 12 years, but I think you guys may have overestimated my abilities. Oh, I'm gonna figure it out. But just so you know, I don't even know what that means. Hi, my name is Jenna Ortega, and today I'm going to attempt a self-portrait with clay. Who is this middleman?
Who is it?
Yeah, what does he do? This is my guy. Here we go. I had to have been 6 or 7. My parents weren't home. They were doing either at work or back to school night or something, so my older sister was watching me. And she was watching the movie Man on Fire with Mark Anthony and Dakota Fanning and Denzel Washington. And I saw young Dakota in that movie. Her performance made me so emotional, and I felt so invested in her character and her story and what happened that it made me want to do that. Her performances were always so mature. She felt like a grown woman trapped in this tiny, sweet little girl's body and mind and imagination that I think I was just captivated by her. She was so fascinating, and as someone who was close to my age, I just kind of clung on to her because I thought she was the coolest. When my parents came home, I told them, I said, you know that movie Man on Fire? And they said, why were you watching Man on Fire? And I said, I'm gonna be the Puerto Rican version of Dakota Fanning. And then they laughed, and then we all went to bed and forgot about it, or at least they did, and then I just kind of harassed them for years and years until they let me do it. I think my mom gave me this monologue book to kind of shut me up because she did not want to take me to LA to join this crazy business. I memorized so many of those just to show my parents that I was invested and that I was willing to work hard and make something real and tangible out of this interest of mine. Started watching a ton of movies, a ton of shows, things that maybe were even out of my depth because I was so fascinated and curious and wanted to sound like I knew what I was talking about. I think I almost became an actor out of spite because they didn't take me seriously, so I showed them, and I was lucky enough to fall in love with it and, have this connection with it. But yeah, whenever they came home from school, it was reading the book. Well, I used to say that I want to be a nurse. I have siblings who are entering the medical field. My mom was an ER nurse all her life. I need something to be obsessed with. I would love to be an investigative journalist where you just kind of delve into what's going on in the world and being able to inform people. It's a job that never gets boring, kind of like what I do now. That, or maybe a historian of some sort where I just randomly know a lot about something that other people probably wouldn't think twice about. To me, there's nothing more attractive or enticing about a person than someone who speaks on something that they're really passionate about, and you learn a lot from those people. This is a meat man. I'm sorry, this is so ugly. Like, he's just a meat man. The show that I do right now, I have to play the cello, and I don't play the cello, and I want it to look real so that cellists don't look at it and call me mean names. My teacher told me that as long as I looked confident in my movement and I was strong and stoic and, fully embodied the character, that it would be fine. And she told me that I just needed to approach everything I do in life with the confidence of the average white man. And that changed my life. I feel better. I was nervous to even do this because I ramble like crazy. So I was like, man, what am I going to talk about for all this time? And then I just remembered, how would an average white man do this? And he probably would have shown up with mismatched socks. I just feel like a lot of things are sound bites now. People's attention span I feel like is rapidly decreasing, and I don't know if that's just because scrolling and TikTok, I think that's what we all say, and that's kind of what we assume. But I think a lot of times when you do an interview now, people are just waiting for that one bite or the one headline, and the things that they ask you to touch upon are often trends and viral clips and moments and things that, yeah, sure, it's fun to acknowledge and appreciate and talk about, but I feel like the internet doesn't know when to quit it or when to drop something. And then when they do drop something, it's brutal. It's just very sheep mentality, bandwagon mentality, and I feel like people oftentimes don't even read a full interview anymore. They read a tweet of something that somebody said that probably is misworded, and then it's that. I don't know, it's just very hostile. It's a new time. Yeah, especially because I'm a rambler. I feel like I have all of these different trains of thought going on in my head at all times, I'm terrified to see everything that I've said written down because it makes no sense. So much of my job is socializing and communicating with people that I forget to do that with myself. I get fearful of the way that I interact with people because I leave a social interaction and I think, oh man, I didn't even sound like myself. And it's like, you don't even know what yourself would sound like. Writing is very informative for me in that way. I think when I write, oftentimes I just get to come up with the best version of myself. Everything is cleaner. It's more to the point. I have a better vocabulary. I was on like an hour flight to get here because I didn't have reception or anything for this hour flight. I read through this journal that I've had for the past year. And I was so fascinated because it was my life, but it almost was from a different perspective. It almost didn't feel like mine. So it felt like I was meeting someone again. And I think that that's wonderful as well, to have documentation of how you're changing and growing as a person. It's the first time I've actually really looked back at my writing and been grateful and appreciative towards myself for taking the time and making that a priority. I'm starting to feel adjacent to myself again. I think there was a time where my life went through such a transformative experience that I felt very lost. I didn't have enough time to connect with myself. I felt like an image of myself was being projected that I didn't resonate with. It's very easy for me to become very pessimistic and in my head and negative about things. And I've kind of seen my language become more constructive rather than harmful. I don't think I would have picked up on that or been able to appreciate that had I not had that written down and documented. He kind of, on accident, is looking like one of the aliens from Mars Attacks, I think. I never said he was gonna be pretty. And I actually think he's more interesting if he's not. Oh, I forgot that I could use this. With the character that I do or the jobs that I play, everything is very dark and horror or comedy, and I think that oftentimes people think that's what I'm like. And don't get me wrong, I love dark humor. I love the jobs that I work on. They're so much fun and entertaining for me. But I think people would probably be surprised to know that I'm a little bit, I don't want to do an interview and go, I'm silly or anything like that. But I don't think I'm as intense as maybe I always come across, which is fine. I think because the character Wednesday has been such a thing, which I'm so grateful for and is so incredible and entirely unexpected, I think oftentimes people just see me as that. I don't know what makes me unique. I think that's kind of somebody else's job. No, it's not. I guess you kind of have to figure that out for yourself. Just took my nail off. Don't look. I've got my Wednesday nails on under here. I think we're just gonna set this to the side and not worry about it. I appreciate how curious I am. I do think I ask a lot of questions. I'm very, very analytical about things, and I feel like I'm more interested in observing and taking in and being aware of what's going on around me. Sorry, this man, he's dying on me. Right now I'm reading books that are around my job that I'm doing right now. I brought Frankenstein, I brought Dracula, I brought all of the darker books that I have. I have like A Clockwork Orange. But I'm currently reading a music reviewer named Mark Fisher, who I'm just learning about. I don't know, he just speaks about his opinions and views on things and somehow ties it to these artists. I went into the bookstore trying to get Capitalist Realism. They didn't have that book, but they had his last book. Just having a moment. Or this guy. I love to run, and I used to love to run while I was younger. I get to put all my energy towards that or have some sort of endorphin release based off of that, which is incredible and amazing and really exciting. I want to wrap this guy up. I can give him nice little pants and bows and things. Did I say that I can't multitask? Because I can't. I think you're cooler if you're weird. I think it's probably better to exercise any sort of self-expression whenever you can, even if that means walking down the street, and if you want to walk in a zigzag, walk in a zigzag. We're creatures of habit and routine, and if you're able to break that and remind yourself that you have free will and can do whatever you want, I think that that's really beneficial. That's labeled as weird, even though it's not really weird, because whatever societal standards or whatever is trending or important online tells you otherwise. And I think that that's so lame. And if we all look the same and sound the same, then we're screwed. My friend told me to make a bowl, and I should have. But now we have this guy. I think he has a story. I think he has a background. I think he's a survivor. I should have been more considerate towards this man, and I wasn't. And what are you gonna do? He's got a little bow. His arms go like that. There you go. There's your meat man. And his name is, we're gonna go with Gherkinberger. He came here today. He dressed well and put himself together and put one foot in front of the other, and I think he's a great role model for young people today, because with any sort of belief in yourself or any sort of ambition or drive, despite your hardships, you could end up in a 45-minute long self-portrait Vanity Fair interview.